Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Plastic Arts Podcast. My name's Fonzie, joined by my co-host, indie game dev extraordinaire, and the clown prince of video games, Gavin Jones. We break down the video game news of the week. And Gavin, how are you doing?
I feel like clown prince of video games is like, that's a creepy... That's too creepy. Like that, you name somebody the clown prince of video games, that guy's having their Me Too moment someday. Like that's,
or you're awesome like ICP. You know they have the clown.
You know
motif
you're
going.
right. You're when you're right, you're right.
Yep. Hey,
and you're right.
I got my Fago soda or whatever that stuff is called.
Your what soda?
They have their own branded soda. It's like Fago, I want to say it's called.
Who does?
ICP. You ever heard of that?
This is officially the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Google it right now.
It's like Fuego or Fago. Yeah.
I would think Fuego.
I'm gonna double check,
but mainly because I don't think Fago is. Nope, it's a thing.
It's a real thing. So yeah, it's
Isn't
like
that just like I just thought that was a Mexican brand of soda.
It maybe the Juggalos just rebranded it, but yeah. So they have it's Fago cotton candy soda is one of the flavors. As if you needed like any more sugar in a soda to have like a cotton candy flavor.
I feel like this is just going to be like an association thing, like Texas and Big Red Soda.
Yeah, I'm sure they just took it over as like that's their thing.
Right.
But yeah, if
fuck?
they did create this, that's amazing stuff. No, there's no ICP branding on any of this, but that's like they've created that as that's their brand soda. And being the big ICP fan that I am, I always like to dig into the lyrics.
You do got that full back Juggalo for life tattoo,
right? Yep.
Did you ever like ICP?
No, I never even like legitimately listened to their music. It's just I took 1 second looking at them, like I'm good, like I'm all set. Right. Nothing about them ever like enticed me, but maybe they're awesome.
No. Well,
I'm sure they're not.
See, and I had to like put up with them because like my buddies in high school were pretty big fans. Like we were all metalheads, and like
really,
that's not that big of an offshoot from metal music. Even though it's not metal music, it still kind of got some of the attitude.
Yeah.
But I still remember it being that huge thing when they came out as Christian.
What
was that like 5 years ago when they came out as a Christian band, or like they were just very ultra Christian? And I still think thinking back like 15 years back to high school, I knew it then because I had some friends who were ultra true, and by fans I mean girls that my friends were trying to sleep with.
Sure.
Ultra fans of ICP, and they knew they were a Christian band because they're like, if you play every single track or every single album is a religious reference.
What?
A lot of the songs, there's sort of a religious story they're telling with it, even though it's just like banging this girl until her teeth bleed. It's like what? But like,
there's actually a passage in the
right.
First Testament or something.
It wouldn't put it past.
Right.
But there are certain songs where you play backwards and like it says religious stuff, and sure enough, I tried it and it fucking does.
That's weird.
So
I never would have thought that.
So the true fans knew for a long time, and then people go, "What?
Yeah. No, I never.
Magnets, not."
See, I was thinking the magnets thing.
You're right, and that was the literally come to Jesus moment they had. That was a new one.
I think the whole mask thing just always turned me off. Like
they're not masks though; it's face paint.
It's true, but like Slipknot didn't do it for me. Although they had a song on the Resident Evil movie soundtrack that was actually kind of dope, but really? I never got into them. But I could get like how you jump in because they're mixing the metal core with like hip hop, and there were bands that I liked in that like early 2000s that were like this hip hop metal stuff.
Right.
But it kind of that whole genre went by the wayside. But
I definitely remember so I was a fair weather fan of Slipknot, and I remember the lead singer, I want to say his name is Joey. He got throat surgery because I think he got vocal nodes, which can permanently fuck up your voice for life.
Yeah.
Like
any kind of surgery when like that's your profession, yeah.
Right. So there are a lot of times there's no coming back from that. So he stopped screaming so much and started using really proper vocal technique.
Yeah.
So he sings very pretty now. But I was just like, man, and then I didn't realize until when I was a kid, I was just like, well, now he's just being a wuss.
Yeah, or
he's
like
just,
Hollywood. Or
yeah, he's singing all pretty until later in life when I learned a little bit more about how that works. I'm like, oh, so he could just like, that could be the end of his career if he does it again.
Gotcha.
If he messes it up again, it's toast. There's no more job.
Well, that reminds me of, do you remember there's that really big DJ,
DJ Kelly.
No,
Another one.
It's like Scram or something, or Skyrim. What's that?
What the fuck?
God, it's like DJ
Skrillex.
Yeah, he was from this emo band called From First to Last, and it was a really big band.
I'm sorry. I mean, he looks like he'd be in an emo band called First to Last.
That's where I knew about him. In like,
was he the last?
He was the. God damn it, he was the singer, so he was the first. In that whole thing, he was a singer, and but he like fucked up his vocal cords too. Yeah, and so he went to DJing, and he doesn't sing on that. But actually, that band has reunited, and they're performing again too. So
really,
yeah, like 15 years later.
Now, if we could get
Creed,
Alexis on Fire to do that again, that'd be great.
Ooh, I'm sure they'll come back together.
I want to say I was in Chicago, and I was. One of my friends went to whatever big festival they got going on there, and apparently they fucking did for a show.
You know what? I think
and I was so mad that I missed it.
Was it in Chicago too?
I think it was in Chicago, and our buddy Joe. Or no, you didn't really know Joe.
I know of him and met him a couple of times. But
right. So
he's one who's like slinging dick everywhere, and he's like an awesome dude. Like apparently, I thought he was playing Pokemon in his basement.
He's slinging that dick. I can't. Proud of.
But it's consensual. Everyone's having a good time.
It's very consensual.
Gotcha. Gavin, what'd you play over the weekend?
I played so much shit. So I played a bunch of Borderlands. I played about
It's a game that keeps giving. It seems like
it's like I know I'm near the end, but it doesn't feel like I'm near the end. Or maybe I'm just going very slow. I don't know. I'm having a ton of fun. The campaign's really satisfying.
Gotcha.
Even if the villains are annoying as hell. I played a little bit of Baba Is You. And got stuck right about where you did. But as we kind of discussed,
I could probably pull up that level too. But,
off camera, I looked up a playthrough for one level so I could figure out how to get through it and see if like I could use that technique to solve the next one. Okay. And fucking no.
Gotcha.
So
what are they? Are they just not like you mentioned? I'm not learning the skills that they're trying to teach me. Are we missing stuff, or they're just doing a bad job of teaching you the rules as they start to increase?
In my opinion, I think that game does a bad job of teaching you the rules. Now, if someone on Twitter wants to fight me about that, that's fine. But that is my firm opinion on that. I think it does a bad job of teaching you the rules, and I'm willing to bet there are droves of people that quit on the same level we did or before. And that early in the game, that's kind of unacceptable.
That's a bummer. Yeah. Like at least throw me a bone. Like if you can tell I keep restarting over and over again, give me that golden star moment where I can just ace that level and then at least get to experience the next one. Like I feel like I'm missing out because I did like that whole idea, but like maybe the 7th, 8th level I had to tap out because I was just like, I'm not getting it.
Right.
And it's disappointing.
And it's cool. Like I dig the concept of like teaching yourself stuff. I really liked how in, the Outer Wilds, I taught myself how to beat that game. That being said, it did a better job of explaining how to do that. Yeah. Speaking of fucking Outer Worlds is coming out on the 25th. What the fuck?
You know what? I have it for some reason. I have it for like this week, and I need to double check that that's accurate.
It's not this week. It's 25th. Okay. I'm so excited. Gotcha. You're gonna have no time to play it.
No,
because you're gonna be prepping. But shit.
What if we just don't get married? Like we push it to like after this game comes out.
You want to try that again?
So it is October 25th. You know what? This is gonna be a Games Pass game, so it's gonna be free on Xbox. Bam! If you have the Games Pass, which I do. So
that's going to be sick. Can I buy it on Steam?
I'm pretty sure
for some reason
can.
In my head, and it's definitely not, but for some reason in my head, it's an Epic Store exclusive. But it's not.
No, so it's on the Windows, because Microsoft owns that dev. So it's going to be on their Windows platform. It's going to be on Switch, I forget, at some point. That kind of blows my mind, but because I remember when that we talked about it already, but I just completely forgot that they're apparently going to put that on Switch. But yeah, that'll be coming out. That's pretty interesting. This whole month is like it's pretty stacked. Yeah. Really, the holiday season is.
This last week has been well. No, I bought older games, I guess.
So you're playing, Borderlands.
So I played Baba Is You. I played Borderlands. I spent like $100 on games this week. I downloaded John Wick Hex, and it's not fun to me. I got through the first, we'll call it a world, the first thing up until the boss battle, defeated the boss, and didn't like any minute of it.
Really? How was the boss? gameplay differ from like the interactions with the little cronies that you kind of face on?
He's got more health, and he can't be stunned. So if I shoot him, he's not going to go, he's just going to shoot me back.
I see.
So I do wonder if I could have just beaten him by just shooting him to death. I mean, and like just point blank, we're just firing at each other until one of us runs out of health.
I see.
Which may honestly be a legit strategy in that game.
Because the whole thing is like it's a tactical approach. You're John Wick. He wouldn't do that in the movie, just like go 1-for-1 with a guy. He'd have a plan. So
right.
It's weird that they would, if that's the approach they want you to do.
Right. But, I almost wish it were, I don't know, make me stupid powerful, but pump more enemies into that game. And I think that would make it way more fun. Like kind of, I don't know, in my head I'm almost thinking like Ninja Zero, where you're just zipping between guys left and right, but it's just so quick. Even though you're powerful, that's a shit ton of guys. You got to get through.
That's how they balance it, by throwing sheer amount of enemies at you. Yeah,
right.
And in the movies, that's what he does. He murders a bunch of people.
Right.
So you could throw a bunch of enemies at him, but they are going for this like it's just small scale. You have to plan your approach, and it's supposed to feel more satisfying. You know, tactically taking out these dudes.
Right.
I just played the first 10 minutes, that first little level, and I was starting, I think they did a good job early on with, okay, I get the concept, but then I imagine they start layering stuff, and you have to then plan strategically. I didn't get to that point yet. I just played that first intro level, but I imagine it gets way harder than that.
They don't do it in the first world.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I
think the first intro, they start like new mechanic they really have. So you have guys with guns.
Yeah.
You have guys without guns, which for the most part looked like waiters. I'm like, why am I murdering waiters? And then you also have doors that'll open, like people spawn behind you.
Okay.
Which in my mind is kind of John Wicky, because then I think it encourages you, not that I did it, but I think it encourages you to move quicker.
Okay.
And then sort of think on the fly. So I started shooting people more because a lot of times I try and conserve ammo. I go up to somebody and I do 2 melees, which doesn't use any focus. So I'm preserving energy. I'm preserving that focus.
And the focus is your stamina, or your ability to execute these moves.
Right. So you can do cooler stuff, like you can do a roll, which will typically dodge a bullet or 2.
I didn't know that. I got shot plenty of times as I was like pre-roll or after a roll, so I wasn't doing that correctly.
Right. And it definitely towards the end of the first world, I had to use crouching a lot more often. So crouching, rolling.
Gotcha.
And crouching makes it a lot harder for them to shoot you, like a lot. Like genuinely they would miss, and it increases your accuracy. So a lot of times have 100% from a lot further distance, which was nice. I like that it didn't have that XCOM thing of like it's 100% for a decent stretch.
I see.
And in XCOM, like it's 100%. It's 90% at point blank.
Gotcha. So it just gets worse from there on.
Right. So it's bullshit that you can miss somebody at point blank range. That's not what John Wick would do. John Wick would never miss someone.
He's a master at that. So yeah.
Right. And I honestly feel like I don't know that I ever missed.
Okay.
And I'd have like 60% accuracy and I'd still hit. So that felt cool.
Nice. Yeah, I want to play more. I've just barely scratched the surface. I honestly would like this on console. I did buy it on, I think right now, PC Max is the only way to play it.
I don't think I'd like that on console. I don't think those controls would be as comfortable.
Yeah, would it transfer? You're right. I know I played, Mike Bithell is the developer. Some of his other games like Volume. He made Volume, and it's sort of similar where you're planning your moves out, but kind of more in real time.
Volume.
Yeah, it's really dope. So that was it was on PS3, PS4. I think they put out, and then Vita. But so he was, I don't know if that was intended from the ground up console, or if there was a PC port as well. But I wonder if there is a console version in mind for this release to eventually come out.
It was announced on a Nintendo Direct stream.
The John Wick?
Wasn't it? I think so.
It's possible, but I know for sure right now it's only Mac and PC.
Right.
But I'll double check as I Google the wrong thing.
But the last game I played that I absolutely fucking adored was Killer Queen Black, which... And after I played it, because I was having so much fun, and it's like genuine adrenaline pumping, balls to the walls. You're trying what it reminded me of, now that I think of it, it reminded me of when I'd play Unreal Tournament back in the day.
Really?
Because you're just like, you got to be a little bit on cocaine to play that game properly.
Yeah, or
you gotta be scanning the whole screen, paying attention to absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Merving perfectly. Killer Queen Black. Oh, there you go.
Did I type something racist?
It pulled it up.
Gotcha. Killer Queen.
So it's really fun, but also playing it, because I remember looking at it. It's not the best looking of games.
Yeah. What are you playing on Switch or PC?
I'm playing it on PC, but there's crossplay with Switch, and I'm playing with Switch players constantly, like a good mix of Switch players and PC players. And as far as I can tell, I've never seen this animated.
Looks like like an intro.
This is fucking fantastic. I don't think this is in the game.
Gotcha.
But that's great. But yeah, so it's basically sort of like in the genre almost of Fat Princess.
Gotcha.
Where it's an RTS where everyone is playing a character.
And there's classes or abilities tied to these.
Right. So everyone spawns as like a basic minion. So you can gather resources, and if you gather enough of those berries, they're either berries or I want to call them like royal jelly, because that makes the most sense to me. Because royal jelly is how beeves in real life evolve, or not evolve, but metamorphosize.
Right. Gotcha.
So that's what I want to call it. But yeah, so you can win you can ride that extremely slow snail to the end of the racetrack.
Okay.
You can get all the berries into your slots, and those vary between levels, like where you put them, how many there are.
So there's multiple ways to complete the level?
Yes, or you can kill the queen 3 times.
Whoa.
The thing is, the queen cannot just hide and play passive, because there's these little gates where you take a berry. You can see them there.
Yeah.
Not that the audience can. But there's these they're called gates, and you take a berry, and you put it in there, and you get to pick one of 2 upgrades. You can either like turn into, a lot of times it's like a big warrior that can't be upgraded further from there. Okay. Although I've seen a warrior with a shield, so I don't know how the fuck that works.
Huh.
But you can turn into this kind of warrior type thing.
Yeah.
Or you can get like a speed boost or something like that.
It's all in the level you can obtain these things, right?
But if, like, let's say the enemy queen touches it, you can't use that. It changes to their color. So there's this huge thing. Even though the queen is super important and you don't want her to die, she needs to play aggressive. Gotcha. So your most important unit is going buck fucking wild on the stage, and a lot of times your queen is your playmaker. Like, she's your most important asset, but she's playing crazy risky.
Huh.
And I found, like, I remember the first time I was only playing like the little minions, because you can pick minion, queen, or both.
Okay.
And I was just playing minion, minion, minion. And one time, even though I picked minion only, it threw me into the queen role.
Oh.
And I destroyed the other team. And I'm like, all right, both. Yeah. It's so good playing both roles. It's really, really fun game.
So each team it's team based, right? So each team has their own queen.
Team of 4.
I see. Gotcha.
Each team, they have their own workers. And the neat thing, so playing this, I was like, as I was starting to get better at it, I was thinking, man, I want to go play the arcade original. And just so happened on Twitch, there was a tournament going on, like a countrywide tournament in I think New York.
Yeah.
Playing this game, and boy, like, I remember when I originally saw it in arcades, I'm like, that looks terrible, and my memory was correct. Like, as okay as this looks, the original looks garbage. So this was and I say that knowing that this game is fantastic, and I'm sure the original is also fantastic, but visually, garbage.
Gotcha. So this started as an arcade
cabinet
originally.
It's and this is 4v4. They made several changes going into this. Originally it was 5v5.
Yeah.
There were less variations of power up. You'd go into your gate and you could get, like, I think there was a speed boost, and there was also a, like, turning you into a warrior.
Okay.
And the warriors didn't have a dash. They weren't that cool. Neither was your queen. Your queen wasn't that cool.
Gotcha.
And so now they introduced, like, dashing. It just, to me, this looks, again, I haven't played the original, but this looks a lot more fine-tuned, a lot more gamified, a little bit more entertaining to watch. That being said, I'm sure it's more entertaining when you know what the fuck is going on.
Because there is a lot, like, we're watching footage of it, but I imagine, once you understand what's going on, could this kind of blend or lend itself to like an esports commentator kind of narrating what's going on, or
yeah, absolutely. And
there is a lot to manage,
right? And I think I would have more fun certainly watching this than the original. And this is also interesting too because I'm working on that arcade game, and they mentioned the differences between this and the arcade game. They mentioned when they made the arcade game, it's a big ass screen, so you make the arenas much bigger.
Gotcha.
And so these are a little bit more compact. So that's a thing to think about. I'm testing stuff on my own personal computer screen.
That's true.
But yeah,
more landscape to deal with. Yeah.
Right. So you want to compact it. So I know that was weird when we tested it the other like a month and a half ago. Yeah. But yeah, this is extremely fun. I recommend it to people that can handle being really competitive and fast paced, and it's fun, and the crossplay works fantastic. It's going to be coming to Xbox One, I believe, soon.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I think it has 4 system crossplay. So I think it's PS3 or PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC.
Wow.
So and it's already nice. Like the wait times are not long as is.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like it's a problem with the crossplay. So
that's cool. And that's one benefit of, as we go forward, a lot of these games having crossplay is that you've increased the player pool. So yeah, the wait times are going to be, they should be shorter because of that.
Exactly. And even on a small indie game like this,
right.
That's huge. That keeps your game alive. Can you imagine coming into this on Xbox One and there's this huge fucking pool of people ready to come at you? Like, that's great.
This kind of reminds me of Quidditch in Harry Potter, just because there's so much going on at once. You could grab the snippet or whatever that thing is, a snorkel, and then the golden compass or whatever that's flying around, and you could also throw the ball in the hoop.
I think that is an extremely fair
just the fact
analogy.
That there's 3
is that a
different
good
components.
word for it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's an extremely it's weird. It definitely plays like a sports ball game.
Sure.
But a weird fucking sports ball game, and that's what Quidditch is. It's a weird thing based off of the way
it's sports for nerds.
Right, it's sports for nerds, but it's fun.
That's cool. You played some Killer Queen Black.
I played so much Killer Queen. When I should have been programming, I was playing Killer Queen Black. What did you play this weekend?
I played 10 minutes of John Wick Hex, and then I did play. Didn't really. Oh yeah, so I finished The Last of Us. So I had this kick that was inspired by the release of the trailer, the announcement of the actual release date, and so I was like, I want to play it again. So I, since then I played it and finished it, and I fucking love it. This is like my 5th time playing that game. It's I love it. It's great.
5th time. That's
and it's crazy. So I'm playing the game. I know all the story beats, but the performances are so just pinpoint, accurate with how they get into your heart, where it's just like I feel it every time. Like there's at least 4 different points in the entire story where just like I have to pretend that I don't feel things as a human, so I don't cry or like show any emotion. I have to just shove that down.
Yeah, just embrace the toxic masculinity.
Yeah, that's where I go, oh, it doesn't affect me. Yeah. And I'm just whatever, lifting weights or something. But I have to do that. It's still, even though I know, I've seen this, I've experienced it already. But man, it's just like a master class on story, on character development. Yeah.
I think that's one of those magical things too, where it takes you back to when you experience those moments. If it's good, it can take you back to the first time you played it.
Sure. Yeah.
Every single time I play Majora's Mask, it takes me back to being like 11.
Gotcha.
And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
A good game can bring you back to that moment.
Right.
You can start smelling the food that was like cooking in the background while you're playing it. Like, oh,
yeah,
is that chicken and waffles?
Yeah, I know. Where'd you grow up, Kevin? Well, yeah. So I know with the original Last of Us is like 5-7 years ago. So I like to imagine myself 5-7 years ago, where
pizza on a plate in front of you.
Yeah, sky was the limit. I had all this potential, and now nothing has happened since then. But
the floor is very much low. No.
But yeah, so I got to finish that, and it was just fun to get back in. Now I'm just like that didn't extinguish any desire I have for that second one. Like I'm even more pumped playing through that first one.
I can't see why it would. That's like.
Yeah, now I'm just like even more hyped. I'm excited. Any little bit of news or a breakdown on YouTube, I'm just like absorbing it all. There's a couple of different documentaries that Naughty Dog put out about the making of The Last of Us, so I've just been watching those too and just going full force.
The only thing I could see like being like a deterrent is like if this were a remake. but it's not a remake. This is the sequel to the game you've been wanting for fucking ever.
Right. And I mean, maybe it didn't really need a sequel. I kind of play with that scenario in my mind too, but because it's Naughty Dog and they're at the highest level of development, so like I trust them to do really whatever the hell they want.
Right.
There was that reminds me, I think it's Neil Druckmann is the director there at Naughty Dog. So he tweeted at Gabe Newell a while ago saying like, hey, if you ever need someone to take over Half-Life 3, like we'll do it.
I think you knock it out of the park.
Perfect, yeah.
I trust him with it more than I trust Gabe Newell with it.
Yeah, they're making whatever card game, 5, but
card game 5.
But although like to take for a dev to go like, hey, I'll take the biggest fucking property with the highest expectation. Let's take a crack at it. Like the balls that they would have as a team, but also they could possibly pull it off.
Who else would you put in charge of it? You wouldn't put
question.
anyone at Bethesda or id Software there.
You can't just look at AAA game devs either. You can't be like, oh, like have Rockstar do it. Like they just do a different style. So I don't know. Even though they're at the top of the food chain as well, I don't know if they would be the right.
That'd be an interesting.
Yeah, it'd be like a Quentin Tarantino spin on Half-Life. It'd be very weird.
It'd be It's not. I mean, that's the thing. Like Half-Life isn't like a gruff, gritty universe. And I think if the Uncharted and Last of Us devs took a hold of it, they could tell a story that like if it does get gritty, it's something that's palatable, that people want to consume more of it. It'd be really good. But yeah, I don't know who else I'd honestly put. Actually I do, because they make games that give me the feels. The guys at Arcane Studios, I'd trust them the fuck with some Half-Life. Their games just, I mean, especially what was it? What was the assassin game?
With not Uncharted, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's, where there was two of them. You're an assassin and
Arcane
you do stuff.
Studios.
Arcane
Studios.
Yeah, I will find it.
I mean, that one specifically, it's like the art style and a lot of like the oppressing government. Dishonored, yes. Yeah. Dishonored kind of felt like a retro, like Half-Life game, and the way they world build, I would trust them with it, especially after Prey. That being said, I appreciate them just getting to make all these new IPs. That new game they're going to knock out of the park. I
forget which new one they're working on.
I think I want to say it has a dumb name like Loop, because it's literally just in a time loop. But I love these time loop games. Oh, you're
right. Yeah.
There was Game Maker's Toolkit did an article or did a video on it, and he coined a term for it, because there's not that many of these games, but there's enough that we should probably have a term for it if we're going to do more of them.
Yeah.
And he called them clockwork games, and I think that's fucking brilliant.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. So, I would add just lastly, as far as another dev that could possibly take it over is Remedy, who do Control, or just made Control. There's a lot of like Half-Life vibes in it. I feel like
I don't trust it. It's going to be up its ass. It's going to be up its own ass a little bit. All their games are, and that's fine, and that's cool. Like that's what I come to them for, but not for Half-Life. I want to have just, it's a roller coaster. You want a big goofy roller coaster that's grounded, but make it a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Also, I just watched this GDC talk about how Gordon Freeman is a terrible character. And I fucking loved it.
What were their points about?
He has no character. He does what other people tell him. He doesn't give his own input. And they even put out the point of like, one of the problems with the silent protagonist, if you're a hero, not talking to people is a shitty move. If you're not encouraging people, if you're not, somebody like these people are so sad and downtrodden, and they're just like, oh, thank God you're here. And you're just walking on through, maybe smacking some crates. Like the first thing and they didn't bring it up in the talk, but the first thing it makes me think of, and they were talking about characterization through gameplay and action, was in the original Darkness game. It's your birthday. You come home. Your girlfriend has surprised you. You forgot it's your own birthday. She gives you a cake. You blow out the candles, and then you sit on a couch and watch To Kill a Mockingbird until she falls asleep. And that was that moment of like, well, I'd fucking die for her now.
Yeah, they build those or create those strings with that character.
Right. And the other thing they bring up, you probably played it. I think it was Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
One of the guys is like looking for his kids. trying to save his kids for a big portion of it.
Yeah.
And they say that's more important because in the beginning of the game, you play with your kids.
Yeah.
You get to like your kids a little bit.
That's the first part of that game is, you interact with your child and you lose them eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. So, good point. And Gordon Freeman just does what
he's just like a silent asshole. Yeah, he's almost like in BioShock, where the whole motif is, you're not in control, you're being told what to do, and you're just abiding by what people tell you.
They brought that up too, and they're like, you know what? As far as silent protagonists go, he's not the worst. At least they eventually. I don't remember this. Eventually, they gave him a reason why he can't talk. I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
Right, but another thing it brings to my mind is like, well, why can't we plan more shit? Like, why not? That gives you agency. Like, even though it was sort of lame the way they did it in GTA 5, it wasn't the worst. I wanted to do, if I was going to do a bank robbery, I was going to be a class act about it. I was going to come in, no one was going to get killed, and that was the character that I was role playing for it. So, and then we're going to see how the Outer World comes out. That's going to be like
the
ultimate.
Hold my beer. We're going to show you how story should be done.
I'm so excited.
Me too, Gavin.
I think after I do my first playthrough, I definitely want to do an evil playthrough where I murder the shit out of everyone and push the limits to how.
Yeah. I love the idea of the devs being able to, because they've already kind of given you that idea that, you can kind of push everything to the limit and we have a reaction ready for it. So I like them just building all these different scenarios to see who actually triggers them. That's a fun idea, just to see what they have ready to go.
Yeah.
But
we should probably cover. We have a boatload of news, and we have been.
There's a boatload, yeah.
We have been dicking around here for
possibly 2 boats worth of news.
A full barge, if you will.
Gavin, let's start with one that.
Are we going to start with that one?
Yeah, let's start with one that's not loaded at all, and we fully understand. So this is.
Yeah, fully understand. Do you fully understand?
Somewhat. I definitely have feelings, but but I understand it's complicated. So this is the whole Hearthstone drama with Blizzard. Initially, banning this character or this player for a year.
I'm sorry, that's very disrespectful, but that's literally all I read when I see his name.
I mean, he's just a few characters off from that, but it's Blitzchung.
Blitzchung.
So they were initially banning him for his response or being vocal about this protest in Hong Kong. And they've kind of walked back their feelings on it, but it's a lot to unpack.
Did you include their Chinese version of their tweet?
No, they have a response, Blizzard, but I don't have the actual Chinese version of the tweet itself.
Because there's a Chinese version of that response, and it's the exact opposite of the American version of that response.
That would seem in line with what's going on.
Yep.
Interesting. So I pulled up a lot of these are from PC Gamer, Andy Chalk. So check him out over at PC Gamer. Hearthstone. Yes. Are you going to fuck his name up too, Gavin?
I was trying to give him a cool nickname
I see.
of A-Chalk, but to be fair, that's not a cool nickname.
No, it's not. I'm not trusting you with my nicknames. So he writes...
You come prepackaged with a nickname. Fonzie is not your name.
That's true.
You already got a cool one.
So I keep the haters off me. I give them a fake name.
Exactly.
So
Haterade.
Now, Hearthstone Grandmaster called for the liberation of Hong Kong in deleted post-match interview. This is the first news story. This was last week, actually. It's like Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, we missed this one by a solid day. So we are the last ones reporting this.
That's true. Although it's been developing all the way up until, I think, over the weekend, right? So.
It has. So
Hearthstone Pro Chung Blitzchung Ng Wai. So I'm going to pronounce the name the right way. So it's Ng Wai Chung. His tagline is Blitzchung. Caused a stir over the weekend when, during a post-match interview on the official Asia-Pacific Hearthstone Grandmasters livestream, he called for Hong Kong's freedom from China. Blitzchung appeared on the stream wearing a gas mask and goggles, similar to the mask worn by protesters in Hong Kong, and possibly intended as a symbolic defiance of the new law banning the use of face masks. And then, as reported by Invin Global, removed the mask and shouted, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age." And the actual, so the stream that it was on, that video has been deleted, but it exists now online.
Did they mention this? Because I know the shoutcasters that were there also got banned.
Yes.
Did they say what were they doing during this? I really don't understand why they were banned as well.
Right. I have the actual. I can pull this up real quick. So I think it's because they're kind of caught in the middle of it. He makes that announcement during that stream, and they kind of react. They applaud.
Oh, okay.
In a weird way, and so
that's why people.
Yeah, and so because they participated. Yeah. So I'm gonna Google that if I can.
And sorry to our 5 viewers for my sniffing.
Are you feeling under the weather, Gavin?
I don't possess the proper ability to blow my nose.
Really?
So like I'm just fucking stuck with it when it's a little stuffy. It's like I can't build up enough pressure to do it. So like I'm just like inhaling stupidly through my nose trying to get something out. Nothing comes out. So I've never actually seen the clip.
Yeah, so here's the actual clip. So he's wearing a gas mask, he takes it off.
Looks like a character out of Borderlands.
And he's being interviewed by those guys. And now they cut to the actual like commercial. So I think they bow their heads because they already see that he has this get up, which is already going towards this controversial statement. So I think that's why they bow their heads, because they're trying to get out of the and not be connected to it, but then they react to it after this.
Are they bowing their heads, or are they trying to get out of the shot so they're not associated with it?
Yeah, by bowing their heads, I meant exactly that. They're just trying to get out of the shot. But now it continues.
How was that guy?
And they clap, and because they kind of have to say something, so it's in support.
So they're playing it off cool, like they might. I mean, maybe I can't speak Chinese. I assume they're Chinese.
I think it was a Chinese stream. Yes, I'm gonna say yes.
That would make the most sense. Either that, or I'm terribly racist.
I'm gonna go with racist. But yeah, so the shoutcasters, react to it. It was a unplanned, statement, so they just kind of had to react to it, and they also
you got to roll with the show. Must go on. You got to roll with the punches.
It's a very much if you remember Kanye West going on whatever show he went on.
Is this the hill we want to die on with comparing Kanye to this?
He's kind of a leader and just a futuristic. No, just as far as like the unplanned liveness, and then the person next to you has to react to it.
Right.
But now, so there's
fuck the Oscars. I can't do that. I can't remember what his accent was.
I forget. Yeah, the guy from No Way Out or A Way Out.
Yeah.
So there's
that was such a fun show though. Like I remember when that happened, we're like, yeah. We're like, I'm not that into it, but yeah.
Even Jeff Keighley's like, oh, we can't do that. But he's like, oh, but that's all right. Like he's like just back and forth.
I mean, they were like, the way they were like, upstanding with that's probably the wrong phrase, but with Konami after they kind of shit on
that was
Kojima. So like, if Keighley was to stop being punk rock right then, everyone would be like, the fuck is this shit?
And his punk rock is like white bread, but he's still on the edge of, he's still doing and kind of pointing towards issues that are trying to get swept on the rug with Konami, with Kojima.
We like say it's like punk rock is white bread, but have you ever seen him like interview somebody? I fucking hate it.
Really?
He will push for his to try and make you slip. Like I remember seeing him go against Reggie Fils-Aimé, and it's like a fight where he's just like, oh, can you Pikmin 3 on the Switch? Like, can you confirm that? He's like, I've told you I can't confirm or deny. Like, I can say this all day long, motherfucker.
They're just trying to pull on strings.
He's trying to like pull the strings, twist the knobs.
That's awesome. No, I love Jeff Keighley. He's awesome. But because he also has to toe this line of he is a just this well-known person in the industry. He has to be accessible to everyone, but also he's definitely giving points of view for sure,
right?
As much as you can in that position.
He's definitely, as far as this industry goes, he's earned back so much respect, especially when you remember like that low point of fucking, what was it, Doritos and Mountain Dew, where everyone's just like, look at this tool. Is that hitting? You don't wishing that was colder?
It was just the fumes, so I inhaled like rubbing alcohol fumes. Or
can I have a sip of this?
Yeah, go for it. I think if you don't manage the fumes that you also ingest when you take a sip.
Is this so? We were talking about as we were right before we watched Joker. Like I haven't tasted anything that's burned in a while. Is this gonna just torch my
I feel alive
throat?
though, so I'm ready to go. Let's do push-ups and wrestle, Gavin. I'm ready to go. Yeah, so this is a whiskey. This is Buffalo Trace whiskey. So this isn't the Bellberg.
That's good. I do wish it were colder.
So initially, I think it was. I had these kidney stones in there, but they warmed up.
You know what that needs? So some family tradition we do, we haven't done in a while, is we drink really nice whiskey and smoke cigars around a fire.
Oh.
And that's what that fucking deserves.
Yeah. It's just like smoke on smoke. Do you also eat barbecue and like what else kind of smoky?
It's about all you can do. But it's like, as far as like traditional like masculine things, I think that's pretty fucking cool. Like
yeah.
sitting around.
You got to throw grilling in there for sure. Mowing the lawn. Checking the thermostat, but yeah.
I did used to. I think I told you I used to smoke a cigar when I'd mow the lawn.
Really?
every week, because it was like I grew up with my Uncle Dan living across the road, and that's just he'd smoke. Now to be fair, he'd smoke a really nice cigar, which will last you like an hour and a half, and that's how long it took him to mow his lawn.
Okay.
So I'd be smoking a cheap ass cigar, and it'd take me about an hour to mow the lawn. Now the problem is, occasionally you can get a bad cigar. And I got a bad cigar and fucking threw up everywhere. And after that point, I was like, nope, I'm good.
I think the only time I've smoked a cigar was at your house years ago. Like you had them for some reason. We're in your backyard. And like Andy and I want to say maybe Riley was there too.
But, that definitely happened. Yeah,
I remember not liking it at all. And I've never attempted ever since then. But I like cigarettes and stuff like that. So maybe I can go back to it years later. But
they're definitely different. I think the other thing too, like the thing that always sucks about cigars is once you're done smoking it, it's not done with you. You're gonna smell like that until you take like 3 showers.
Yeah, I'm not in the mood for that.
And
either.
it's that it taints the flavor of everything. It's like they're kind of like the Malort of the smoking world.
Malort?
It's a Chicago wormwood-based liquor. I'm not sure which one.
Gotcha.
And it tastes like the water at the bottom of a garbage truck.
Gotcha.
It is the worst thing that has ever been made. But Chicagoans will die on the cross for that thing right there. That is the.
I got to try this, Kevin. That's the commercial.
You know what? Next time Joe comes back, he'll. Typically, whenever he comes back to Washington, he brings like 6 bottles.
Okay.
And just tries to get everyone to drink it because it's like the running joke of Chicago. It's just like, oh, you got to try Malort. It's like a tradition. And you're like cheering them on, and they try it, and you see their face go, the fuck did you just make me drink? And it's like the fun part is you're not done yet because that flavor won't go away.
Oh, God.
It's going to taint everything you drink or eat for the next like 20 minutes.
Why would you do that to your friends?
I think it's just a running joke is my theory.
That only Chicagoans know? Okay.
Yeah. Well, until you know, then you're in on the joke. And then when somebody says, hey, you haven't been here, you haven't tried Malort, let's go try Malort. And you're like, all right, well, now I'm on this side of it.
Yeah.
So I'll drink it alongside with you, but...
Yeah. Just tell me, hey, go fuck yourself. I'm not trying that.
Right. Anyway, back to the serious subject.
I'm sure there's a TLDR, but I don't think it warrants a TLDR for this kind of thing because it's pretty complicated and
we could probably TLDR it a little bit. I mean, he was originally banned.
Yeah. So I want to say he was facing a 2-year ban. And his winnings for that tournament.
Did they even say 2 years, or did they just say banned?
It was
because I thought it was permanent, and I thought the casters were permanent as well.
I see, gotcha.
Maybe I'm wrong though.
Well, I have this is a tweet from Blizzard's account. This is referencing that initial the whole reaction to that statement on the live stream. So this is from Blizzard.
We're jumping straight to that.
No, well, this is that right when he makes that comment. This is their response of what the repercussions were going to be. So you mentioned like how what that ban was going to be.
So this is not the president of Blizzard yet.
No, this is just them announcing that it's going to be that. Really, they're going off of exactly what he did and how they're going to deal with Blitzchung's Chung's.
You pronounced it Chug that time. I got it in your head.
So this is from Blizzard. Upon further review, we have found the action has violated the 2019 Hearthstone Grandmasters official competition rules, section 6.1. Engaging in any act that, in Blizzard's sole discretion, brings you into public disrepute, offends a portion or group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard's image, will result in removal from Grandmasters and reduction of the player's price total to $0. In addition, the other remedies which may be provided for under the handbook and Blizzard's website terms. There was 2 years is what he was facing initially. I do remember that.
And people love to point out right now, which is a bit trolly, but still, that this has damaged their reputation so much, which is a condition on this. Who gets fired for this one? Which again, I'm not really for that. I really hate like the idea of like something's bad or something was wrong. Like let's fire people. Like because people will do that for literally anything.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would argue that maybe no one gets fired because they're the whole reason to.
No, they won't. That's just the joke going around.
Gotcha. Especially with this situation, because it's really the pressure from how China views them is why they were so aggressive with punishing him in the first place. Right. But that was the only balance they had to do, is like they have to do some kind of response. So they're this. So the Chinese government will just kind of view them favorably, so they can keep doing business there.
And the other thing to point out here too is, so one of the big things China can do is they can just ban the Blizzard games altogether. And the reason that's extra tricky is there's fucking clones in China all ready to go. Right. They look exactly like Overwatch. Like they're ready to go. The second Blizzard is banned, China can let these publishers bring their games back.
Gotcha.
Because I want to say like Chinese government was fighting these clone games. Because Blizzard was coming in. They were cool with Blizzard. Okay. So if they get rid of Blizzard, they're like, nah, throw the clones back up. Right. We're good.
Well, the whole clone thing with it's rampant and like just brand names and any kind of entity, it's being copied in China, and that's a huge issue with copyright.
Yeah.
But so he faces Blizzard responds with this 1 year. Apparently it was a 1 year ban. Sorry about that. 1 year ban from Hearthstone, and then he wasn't able to earn those funds from that Hearthstone tournament, which he had won. So now that was on Monday, and now no response from Blizzard until Friday.
Right.
So what was weird about the response was it was a press release at 5:30 p.m. on Friday, and the whole a journalistic critique is that they wanted this to be as buried as they could by releasing it on Friday when everyone's leaving for work, to not write articles about this to some degree.
Yep, that worked.
Yeah, and rather than have some kind of conversation or like live stream, like they really just want to try and distance themselves away from this as much as they can. Okay. So now they backtracked, and here's their actual Andy Chalk from PC Gamer as well kind of breaks down their
And this
response.
was a few days before they backtracked.
So this is a full-blown week before they say anything. But this is their actual response. So after a tumultuous week that saw widespread fan outrage, a call for boycotts, and 2 high-profile personalities withdraw from future events, Blizzard President J. Allen
Who
Brack...
are the high-profile personalities?
So there was 2 shoutcasters or commenters that...
Are they the ones they banned?
No, these are two. These are 2 other ones. So this was Hearthstone caster Nathan... That's Admirable Zamora steps down over Blitzchung.
Fuck that is.
Controversy. So, and this is one of the...
I kind of know his face, though.
Gotcha. Yeah, you might have seen him on other streams and stuff. But he actually stepped down just to in support of Blitzchung. So, Andy writes, after a tumultuous week that saw widespread fan outrage, Blizzard President J. Allen Brack has issued a statement explaining the company's perspective on the suspension of Hearthstone Grandmaster Blitzchung Nguai, and admitted that it reacted too quickly in imposing his punishment. Our esports programs are an expression of our vision and our values. Esports exist to create opportunities for players from around the world, from different cultures and from different backgrounds, to come together to compete and share their passion for gaming, Brack wrote. It is extremely important to us to protect these channels and the purpose they serve, to bring the world together through epic entertainment, celebrate our players, and build diverse and inclusive communities. Brack emphasized that the views expressed by Blitzchung, Liberate Hong Kong, Revolution of Our Age, were not a factor in determining his punishment, and that our relationships in China had no influence on our decision. So to pull out of that, that seems weird because that's 100% why they would be punishing him in the first place, right?
So you need to, and you said you haven't seen it, you need to pull up the, and it's on IGN because they had their own, and I appreciate that they brought out their own independent translator to translate it. So Blizzard response, Chinese version of Twitter.
I see.
And it's on IGN. I really appreciate they had their own translator because there's a certain wordage at the end that could come across as a bit more, there it is. So
interesting.
So, but that's not the if you can find the IGN version.
Yeah,
because they say one thing in the regular translator version as China, which you can certainly interpret it as China, but the word is not specifically China, and that does affect it a little bit. Okay, so this is essentially the Chinese version of Twitter.
Gotcha. Yeah, because it's not all public access kind of thing.
So here's where they say the exact opposite.
So this is Matt Kim of IGN. Blizzard/NetEase Chinese social media account takes China's side.
And to be fair, this is not Blizzard account. This is their Overwatch account. But fucking still.
So they go on to write, we express our strong indignation or resentment and condemnation of the events that occurred in the Hearthstone Asia-Pacific competition last weekend and absolutely oppose the dissemination of personal political ideas during any events or games. The players involved will be banned and the commentators involved will be immediately terminated from any official business. Also, we will protect or safeguard our national dignity or honor. Yeah, it's 100% in the opposite direction.
It's the opposite. Full
so
opposite.
Now, is it this is their viewpoint so that their citizens see this and it's just separate from Americans seeing this? Mm-hmm. Gotcha. They want to keep them, under control somewhat.
That's what most of the Chinese people saw.
Gotcha. That's I had no idea that was going on. That's interesting.
Yeah. Huh. So, and I think it was like almost the same timing. So I remember like people like saw the post from the president, and it's pretty amazing that they got the president to comment on this one.
Blizzard, yeah,
because it's that big.
Right.
So he did that, and then this came out almost around the same time. So people were doubly pissed.
Gotcha.
Which is fair.
Right. So, and we'll go on to them like backtracking their actual like hard stance reaction. But how do they come back and get back into a positive limelight with gamers? How do they? Is there a path out of this?
So I can discuss that in a minute.
Gotcha.
Because there something I do want to point out. So they have one of the things they've reversed on this is now Blitzchung gets half of his winnings. And I do apologize again. This is like disrespecting.
It's a term of endearment. You're with them.
This is a bit like saying something. Well, no, I can't compare it to that person, but it's like. Gotcha. This guy isn't the next Rosa Parks. He's not the next the guy
Gandhi?
Martin Luther King Jr.
Okay.
But this is still somebody that does deserve respect. He even though he probably didn't think of it as a big thing, this has turned out to be a big thing.
Right.
And this
Anytime
is meaningful.
You're able to, especially with this issue with these protests with China, anyone who's stepping out is really getting silenced or facing backlash. So
right.
No, I fully support it. But yeah.
So I say it with love.
Yeah. Exactly.
But what was I saying? So they gave him back his winnings, which was interesting because there was a whole nother digital card game that said, "Hey, we'll put you in our new tournament coming up. We'll happily spotlight you, and we will give you the winnings that Blizzard didn't give you."
Whoa,
so
nice.
now Blizzard is actually giving us winnings. It's like, are you still taking are they still giving you the other winnings?
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of winnings.
Interesting. No, that makes sense for another game to just be like, hey, you're a high profile player that will bring eyes. Come to us. Like, we'll pay you.
It's great. And now people will, like, I remember when the article came out, like comment sections were just going like, hey, here are alternatives to these. That being said, I fucking wish there were an alternative because I love watching StarCraft. Can we bring back what's it called? Command and Conquer?
Oh yeah,
because they really literally have no competition. A lot of like commenters have talked about Blizzard has no competition in the RTS, the fast action RTS space. Nothing.
I wonder what's the deal with that. Yeah.
It's so niche.
Right.
Even though like esports and watching it is really niche, you're not going to be pulling in GTA 5 money.
Sure.
You're not going to be pulling in Halo money. You're not going to be pulling in that crazy amount of money unless you're StarCraft.
Gotcha.
So there's that. But yeah, so they're bringing him over to that. I think that's really cool. But what were you saying with how do you bring it back?
How do you become more, positive in gamers' minds, and can you shake out of this or kind of get back on a path that will gain the trust back of players and, get back in positive grace with them? So
this has been one of the scary things. Did you, I don't know if you read the article with the kind of expose on the employees at Blizzard and how they're feeling.
I know there was various protests. There was like a walkout during the week.
Right.
They had covered their like not their goals, but like their kind of like motives that they had on Blizzard headquarters where they had like
think globally.
There you go.
Something or other.
They had covered it with cardboard or whatever just to say, hey, like this is
actually
happening.
So there was an article that was kind of reading some anonymous employees to kind of doing interviews with them, and some of the things they kind of brought up is like they are disgusted. But it's like, what do you fucking do? Because this, like, Blizzard is the fucking job to have. There's nothing cushier. Like, you get to do what you want on a daily basis. You are working with the most talented people on planet Earth. You love what you do, and you get to do it every day. These people are not, to my knowledge, not burnt out like a lot of other studios. They're treated very well, paid well.
I see.
And this shit happens.
Right.
And you feel guilty going to work. And that sucks because these people didn't do it.
Yeah, they have no influence on the, whatever official stance the corporation is going to do with this guy. Like, they have no...
Right. But that's still your company.
Yeah.
That's still where you work. And that's like the ickiest feeling. And they mentioned that they keeps telling the employees that the CEO is going to make an official statement. He's going to make a video statement. And it's been coming. It's been coming. It was supposed to have been out last week. It was supposed to be out soon, and it's not coming out. And they literally don't know what to do. Yeah. And that's terrifying.
Yeah. And I imagine they can't, also make a statement on Twitter or show their solidarity with Blitzchung. Like, they have to just kind of be on this straight path where they just can't react either way. Right.
And they're still, they have, to a certain degree, they have to do what the Chinese government wants. And there was I saw big arguments about like, well, like, I know Blizzard, I want to say Epic was making a big stance on it. And I know certain people were like, well, you guys are owned by Tencent. And other people were arguing with like, well, they're only 40% owned by Tencent. Gotcha. So the most Tencent can do is sell their stock and fuck off.
Gotcha.
I didn't realize that it's still 60% owned by the lead guy there at Epic. That's insane.
That seems,
for a publicly traded company.
Yeah, I don't think that's the norm at all.
It's 60% one guy and the rest is a Chinese company. And that's why, that's part of what got PUBG off their ass. Because PUBG is largely owned by Tencent. Yeah. And Epic is a decent chunk owned by Tencent. So PUBG is trying to sue Epic, and Tencent said, "You fucking what? We make money. Don't stop them from making money, you assholes. We own you."
If you sue them, it's like, do we give money to ourselves? What do we do in that situation? Because we partly own that company.
It was clearly like, this is our new cash cow now, and you're gonna fuck that up? Right? No, you're not gonna.
Yeah, you're right, because they did drop all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that's where it gets weird, because a lot of these companies at the very least, want to do business with China, so they have to deal with whatever issues are going on, or they're partly owned by them in the first place.
Yeah. So the other thing, unique perspective I've seen from the indie side, and I'll cover this very quick, but even to indies, Chinese money is super fucking important. I imagine. And part of that reason is because of review bombing. So there was a guy who shall remain nameless, but he made a multiplayer game, and it became very popular with like a Chinese YouTuber. And a lot of his Chinese fans wanted to play. So what did they do? Because it was in English only. Yeah. So they review bombed his game. They just dug it into a fucking hole that cannot be dug out.
Because there wasn't
there was no Chinese translation. Gotcha. Until he put that back out and it climbed out. And then he made thousands upon thousands of dollars. But they can still destroy your game.
Imagine,
if it's not in Chinese.
Gotcha.
And that's fucking rough. Yeah. That's not a AAA company. This is this was one dude.
Gotcha.
Destroyed. And that's crazy. Then they made him bajillions of dollars. Like he's set now till he can finish his next game and then his next game. Like, that's awesome. But fuck, dude. This affects everyone. Like, you can't mistake it. It's not just these guys that are largely owned by Chinese companies.
So is it almost like you have to do business, or you just can't? It's silly to try and avoid the fact that they're this huge, option out there.
It's a fucked up pretzel.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing not icky about it. And that's a terrible thing alone, just like getting review bombed. Right. Having your shit that like people really enjoy just be destroyed because you're not supporting, how do you do that? Do you just make it available in certain regions? Well, they can use an ISP and hop over to that region and still destroy stuff.
Now there's companies that will localize stuff for you, but that does cost money.
That's what you had to do. You had to hire and that if you're not set up to localize, it's gonna fuck everything up. That's gonna be really hard to do, which he wasn't, and he had to pour tons of time and effort into doing that. And then again, he made a bunch of money. So I don't know. It's all icky. There's no un-icky.
That's the vibe I get. Yeah.
But people make it look like it's just a AAA problem. It's not.
Gotcha. Interesting. Well, Gavin, you're right. They kind of reduced the penalty, so it's I don't want to say it's 6-month ban that he's going to face, the Blitzchung, and he's getting half of his earnings back, apparently. So yeah, now he actually has a response. So this is through also PC Gamer. Jody McGregor writes, Blitzchung Ngwai, the Hearthstone Grandmaster who was suspended by Blizzard. He has a statement in which Blizzard after Blizzard walked their suspension back from a year to 6 months and reinstated his winnings. First of all, he wrote, I'm grateful for Blizzard reconsidering their position about my ban. Earlier this week, I told media that I knew I might have penalty or consequence for my act. Because I understand that my act could take the conversation away from the purpose of the event, in the future, I will be more careful on that and express my opinions or show my support to Hong Kong on my personal platforms. Blitzchung went on to express gratitude that his winnings were being restored, explaining that people from Blizzard had explained this to me through a phone call, and I really appreciate that, and I accept their decision on this part. Regarding the reduction of his suspension, he's grateful. For that too, he noted, 6 months is still quite a lot to me, and added, I wish Blizzard can reconsider about their penalty on the 2 casters involved.
Which they did reconsider as well.
Gotcha. And I guess he's getting full earnings. For some reason, I was thinking half the earnings back, but
right.
Yeah.
I see. Here's the thing, though. Are they going to take his, like, if he's very free Hong Kong on Twitter?
Yeah.
Can they back all the way down? I bet not.
Maybe they can strike a deal where as long as you just keep it off of the streams and they can still play ball with China, and then you're doing your own, personal stance on other platforms, then it's fine.
I've seen a lot of people, I feel like I've seen people try and toe this line before and it just not works.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to separate those things.
You gotta back them.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the future holds for this. I feel like, Blizzard's in this huge rut now with this whole debacle. So how do they come back from that? How do they turn things around? I'm not sure, because they still want to do business with China. So they're not going to really change, any stance they would have, right. Or maybe they won't be as hard-nosed when it comes to somebody else being. But I think now this is going to trigger many more people being public in support of Hong Kong on these live streams. So this is going to be the first guy. He just started it.
Well, and the other thing it's done too is people have turned Mei into an icon.
Right. And that's a Overwatch character?
Yes. And people are also trying to do it with Mickey.
With Mickey?
Yeah. Because
Disney does deals.
Disney has been doing stuff. One of the things people pointed out that I guess maybe I didn't think about, and it's still maybe overthinking it, but so in what is it?
Thinking of a country or company?
Doctor Strange. He's supposed to be trained by like Shaolin monks.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And so they changed it out to white lady that knows Kung Fu.
Yeah.
And I think it was just generic monks.
Gotcha.
So they destroyed a little bit like culture, and it was very important.
Is that to play ball with China? So
that was to play ball with China, apparently. Again, that may be drinking a little bit of Kool-Aid, but that doesn't sound too much Kool-Aid drinking to me.
No, and it's a change they can make to make sure that they make more money over there. Because you can't not release there, right?
Right. And as of, within Doctor Strange range, it seemed like the Marvel Universe hadn't done too much whitewashing. And considering that character was very important, that be a Asian, Shaolin monk character, right. People were upset with that one.
Yeah, I do remember.
And if this is why, then that's also fucked up.
Yeah.
So they've definitely done some stuff in that. Yeah.
With bending over for China.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
No, that's tough. Yeah. I was reminded that BlizzCon is the next, public event that they have for the Blizzard host, and this is November 1st. So I imagine we're going to see, much more stuff with just in support of Hong Kong and protesting tied to BlizzCon. So I imagine this is not going to end here for sure. So how do they navigate that live event too? Like, how do they just be like, everything's fine, it's cool, and then
you know what you do? You do like Nintendo, and you turn off the fucking chat. Gotcha. You disable that chat.
And you pre-record everything, and yeah.
I mean, you might as well, but no, it's gonna be interesting because people are gonna put signs up.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a big part of the esports culture. You put up the signs.
Yeah, you can't not have an audience too. So okay, good luck with that.
Right, and that's. Yeah, it's huge, and people invest into these stadiums and all these things.
Right.
It's crazy. So how do you navigate? I don't know. That's a whole mess, and it's to see it happen to one of the most prestigious companies in gaming that now has to navigate out of it. This is nuts.
Right. I mean, it's a shitstorm, but it's also they put themselves there. But I would hope there's a scenario where they can turn things around. But I think it means doing less business with China, or at least structuring your business where you can still honor like American values like democracy, like freedom. I don't think that's
the thing with China. There's no like halfway button. There's no dimmer switch. You're either doing it or you're out.
Yeah, yeah.
So I also felt awkward too the other because after this I was watching StarCraft because I can't get enough, and it was they were doing regional, so they did like I think it was like England, and they had American, and one of the ones I was watching had Hong Kong versus China, and I'm like, well, this is awkward, and then China fucking decimated Hong Kong.
Oh.
Like there was like it was like watching a baby try and play with like some grandmaster champion, and like full disrespect to the people that lost because they it wasn't even close.
Really?
It was like I want to say it was 3-0 every game.
Gotcha.
So it was like, oh God.
Just
but again, like that's just that's somebody that lives in China doing their damnedest versus somebody that lives in Hong Kong. There's nothing political uninherently about that, but due to the situation,
they're extra emotional now, and so they're using this as these platforms to battle, and represent their political views.
Right. Probably not what that was, but although there's the emotional factor of, some players, you see it a lot more with fighting games, play better when they're emotional, when they put their feelings into it, and some players play shittier, which is fantastic.
Gotcha.
When you have somebody who plays shitty when they're emotional, and the other person knows that, and they're trying to get them.
Right,
put them on tilt.
Yeah,
that's what I loved. And by the way, so I know we I've talked about this before with fighting game tournaments. How you get these villains, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I think and you don't necessarily dislike them because they're a villain. You kind of like them being around. They're fun.
Sure.
They make it exciting. And when we watched that UFC fight the other day with over the top Magoo.
Israel Adesanya, the Stylebender guy. Yeah.
So that's how you see it a lot of the times in the fighting game scene, where it's this guy who's not only hard to defeat, but they're cocky as shit about it.
Yeah.
And so that's like, you can kind of see now what I'm talking about, where like if he was in the fighting game scene, he'd be a villain. You're still cheering for him. You're still like, I love me some Filipino champ. I always get the two Filipino something or others confused, but like even though they may kind of occupy that space of a lot of people love to hate you, you're still there like, yeah, that's my boy. He's gonna be pissing everybody off. Go for it.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah, Gavin. Well, it's I think we solved it. So
we solved it.
We can move on because we fixed it. So they're good. They're gonna shake hands and they're gonna keep doing business and everyone's gonna be happy. But another subject that we solved. Got him. So now, Gavin, also during the week, no big deal, but the PlayStation 5 was officially confirmed. PlayStation 5 is the actual title, and that it's coming late 2020.
What else would it be?
You're right. Yeah. Once they confirm that, it's like, well, that makes sense.
And Xbox is PlayStation's going to be PlayStation 5, and Xbox is going to have the dumbest fucking name.
Yeah, they're in such a tough spot because
it's never been good names. Even Xbox is a dumb name.
I mean, I will still, just for nostalgic reasons, I'll give them that. Like, I do like the Xbox name now at 10 plus years afterwards. But I think rather than going with Xbox 2, they were at this like they were behind a generation. So I think that Xbox 360 moniker was to have a 3 next to the PS3. Right, that was the whole reason why they skipped a 2. Like the normal succession, like it was an Xbox 360, so that as far as like when they're battling on the marketplace at Toys R Us, at Walmart, you see Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, they seem numerically equal. I feel like that was the only reason why they did that. But then once they did that, they're already fucked because like, are we going to go with 4? Like, what are we going to do?
Right.
So then they do Xbox One, which is a full step backwards.
That was Where do you go with
that? Do you think it's impossible for Xbox to do just, hey, this is the next Xbox, and we just stop doing the numerical things and we just release these? Could they do something like that?
I don't want a God of War situation.
That's true, where you have like original or Xbox 2001.
Right, and already having an Xbox Zero is confusing enough.
Sure.
I think at some point you have to use one of these cool code names. Xbox Scorpion was fucking dope.
Yeah, it was cool. That was for the One X, right?
Yeah.
So the new one is Scarlet for the next gen thing.
Call it Scarlet.
You could. Some
That's cool.
Theorizing like it could be Xbox. That's too many syllables, but Xbox Infinity to go in line with like the Halo Infinite.
That's a great name.
It's possible. I think they're in a tough spot, but a cool, unique name could be born out of the fact that they're in this like corner now. They have to create something cool. I don't know if they can't really go the numeric path anymore because it's just
if they go Infinity.
There you go. But then Infinity 2, like then it gets weird. Like how do you, how do you improve on Infinity?
Well, we've got the cloud now, so stop upgrading and just have everyone play in the cloud.
Eventually, that might be what's going on too.
I would love Xbox Infinity, but at no point have they proved that they know how to name a console. Xbox One X is the dumbest name ever.
It's pretty bad. Yeah,
it's not as bad as the Soulja Boy.
The Soulja Boy Tell 'Em game.
He had no, but it was like, oh God, what was
it?
Like
Soulja Boy 5 or something.
Because somebody like I think I saw it on like JonTron where he's just like, it's supposed to be the Game Boy. You could have just called it the Soulja Boy, but you called it the Soulja Boy something.
I'm seeing Soulja Boy video game is what I'm seeing, or the
probably. He's got a bunch of consoles that are terrible.
Did he not get sued for that? Did you?
He did. Yeah,
he did. Okay.
Well, I think they were like Chinese emulator consoles.
Right.
Who, if they're being sold like in China by Chinese people, they're not going to get in trouble. But you sell this shit in America, you dummy, and put your name on it.
And they'll stand back and let you make all this money and they go, okay, cool, we're going to just go ahead and take this from you.
Right. So that was...
Just on par with the Soulja Boy game is the PlayStation 5.
I didn't know that it was fully announced for late 2020.
Yeah, so I mean that's when everyone theorized, I would imagine, because the 360 was they've said that, or the 360 Scarlet, they've said is going to release holiday 2020. They just haven't shown anything yet. That was the last 360 or the last E3. But PS5, hasn't been confirmed, and now they've said it is PS5 and it's late 2020. Now Kotaku has the breakdown of all the details. So they actually went into a bit more detail on the new controller and what the features are. Oh. So now this is from Kotaku. Sony isn't Steven Totilo of Kotaku. Sony isn't waiting for any more leaks. They revealed more details about the PlayStation 5. And yes, it will be called the PS5. So here's the key info. It'll be called the PS5 and be out for holiday 2020. The console will have a solid state drive. Games will be released on 100 gigabyte discs. Now I was trying to figure out the standard for the PS4 because there's standard Blu-ray drive.
I want to say it's a terabyte.
Well, the standard Blu-ray disc, the capacity, I want to say for the PS4 is like 25, 50 gigabytes, apparently. So I couldn't but I couldn't lock it down. I could totally be wrong. But apparently the PS5 disc will be 100 gigabyte disc. And it's a 4K Blu-ray disc as well. So the PlayStation 5 reads physical media via a 4K Blu-ray drive. As with the games this generation, they'll need to be installed from the disc. Though Sony is now saying...
That's too much to load. It's legit, for a physical medium of a disc, that's just too much to load.
Well, the next thing...
You have to do that.
Gotcha, I see. So they're saying that now that players will have more granular control over which parts of the game they install or uninstall, campaign, multiplayer, etc. So that's, I guess, the workaround is that if you want to go right to multiplayer, download that first, and then you load the rest of the stuff.
I wouldn't do that. I would not do that.
Gotcha. Gavin, do you think that they might know what they're doing, though, over there?
No. Okay. That makes it so much harder. Like, if you tell me to make a game where you can install the multiplayer but not the single player, I'd say I'm going to the Switch.
Interesting.
Fuck you.
Okay.
That's hard to do. That's legitimately, like, I couldn't tell you how to do that. I have no idea how to do that.
Gotcha. Are PCs doing anything similar to that where you can modularly...
Well, you can do it. You could do that with like the last Call of Duties.
Okay.
But they're never going to make you.
Gotcha.
That's so hard.
I don't know. I don't know if this is favoring, downloading it versus loading it off of the disc instead.
I mean, it gives you options, which is cool, but making it mandatory, like you cannot make that mandatory. That's almost mean. That's saying, hey guys, spend way more money per game you're making because we say so.
Now that's one thing I haven't thought about. So because you can potentially download the campaign before the multiplayer, do they have to have like 3 sets of textures and like sound effects like all within each chunk that you can download, or can they pull? You know what I mean? Because they're copying.
You'd
stuff.
have shared.
Okay,
but that's part of the reason why it's hard to do.
Gotcha. Interesting. Well,
so how do you manage that? Then you start throwing in DLC, and then maybe you don't have a dependent sound effect loaded up, and then everyone's crashing, and then they're mad for like a week because you're like, oh, I forgot to make this sound effect mandatory for both files.
Gotcha.
Fuck you, Sony.
Well, I hope it's not as extreme as you're saying, but it could be a potential problem.
I think for a AAA, it won't be the worst.
But these indie devs now have to spend more time doing this.
That's gonna be hard.
Gotcha.
That's gonna be hard.
Well, they're touting this as a feature, so we'll see how that folds out. But
that's a cool feature.
Now, the PS5's revised user interface will show more information about what can be done in a game, including the availability of multiplayer matches. Wired's writer. So they talked to, initially PlayStation did their blog post where they announced it, but they had an in-depth interview with Wired magazine. So this is what it's referencing. Wired's, yeah, they're still around. They still get exclusives somehow. But Wired's writer held a prototype of the new PS5 controller and wrote that it seems similar to a PS4 controller.
Good.
Yes, it will include a speaker, and here comes some of the jargon you'll start to see reporters and game makers using to discuss next-gen hardware. Adaptive triggers that can offer varying levels of resistance to make shooting a bow and arrow feel like the real thing. So they go into detail on this.
That's gonna wear out.
Dang,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
I walk in.
I did.
I want to see you walk into their just the studios where they're working on this, and they're play testing and stuff, and just like kicking shit down, like stop that, redo this, like just like Gordon Ramsay.
Well, it's anything like any sort of resistance thing like that is going to physical restriction and stuff like that is very tough. So you can either do something like not pneumatically, but
there's something I don't know if I've pulled it up here, but there's a coil system. There's some kind of a smart coil system that they've talked about, which sounds like Back to the Future. But yeah, I'll pull that up too. But
maybe I'm wrong.
Who knows, Kevin? You're never wrong. But so they go on. Wired was also impressed with the improved haptic/rumble in the controller, reporting this of their time using it to play demos created by the Studio Japan team behind PSVR game Astrobot. So this is talking about this haptic rumble that's in the controller. On ice, a high-frequency response made the thumbsticks really feel like my character was gliding. Jumping into a pool, I got a sense of resistance of the water. On a wooden bridge, a bouncy sensation. So they're using haptic feedback, which is similar to like the Switch has that like HD rumble. So it's just more of a complicated.
Doesn't the Xbox currently have like the king of rumble? Because don't they have rumble just for like the sticks? Like they have so many points of rumble.
They might, but I'm not seeing the comparisons that you're mentioning like with like the current Xbox controller. I feel like what they're saying, this is a step up, or at least in line with the Switch and how they have like this more complicated rumble feature. Or phones that they have like where you can tap and feel like that bump where you're actually typing like an actual adaptive.
At least that puts everyone on the same playing field. So that's good.
That's true, because Switch had that leeway with the HD rumble, but now we're back on track.
Something this reminds me of randomly is there was a technology patented by Disney for touchscreen displays where they could run a certain current through the touchscreen and it would change the friction on a given part of the touchscreen. It's like,
interesting.
Why is that not ever? Oh, they have. You can't just look it up by Disney patent. They have so many. Actually, you may have done it already.
I don't know if this is what's going on. No, this is a visual one, I think.
Oh, okay.
Transmissive layers. It can simply described as multi-dimensional screen. That is not it.
That
sounds interesting though.
The thing that's crazy about Disney is like legitimately like they have so many patents. It's because these Imagineers, like that's a dream job. You want to be as creative as possible and have a giant budget thrown behind you?
Yeah.
Be an Imagineer. Like, holy shit.
It's that, or when Hitler had infinite funds to just like, fund whatever project you want to look for the Holy Grail, go for it.
Disney was not behind the Nazis, despite the Nazis being behind Disney.
Yep. Yeah. That's a whole can of worms as well. So they go on some of these features here. One thing that's not surprising is it's using a USB Type-C, which all the newer high-end phones, even Apple has like a USB Type-C thing they're going to. Now, one studio that is now confirmed as a PS5 developer is Bluepoint Games, makers of the 2018 Shadow of the Colossus remake. Said studio president Marco Thrush to Wired, "We're working on a big one right now. I'll let you figure out the rest."
It's a poopy.
If you were to imagine their next remake, could you theorize anything that they would tackle next?
I think it's gonna take so long to come out that it'd come out on the PlayStation 6.
Gotcha. Well, now with the
that would totally track with them. Like
maybe now
didn't what was the last one? Like Ico, didn't that skip the PS3?
You're right, but this is not that dev. This is not that Team Ico dev. This is the guy. These guys. The
Shadow of the Colossus devs.
Well, they did the remake.
Oh,
yeah. So this is Bluepoint.
All
so they did the remake of Shadow of the Colossus, and I think they did the HD Uncharted remakes too. But their whole thing is they remake these games. They don't.
I love it when remake studios get a shot.
Yeah,
because sometimes you get really good stuff out of that.
Yeah, and this one they seem to specialize in these remakes too. So let me pull up some of the stuff they've done. So they did the last Shadow of the Colossus, which I really dug. but they just did the HD remake of it. So
I get the feeling that these remake studios, like, because like you really are like remaking this movement and this classic stuff, I have a feeling like the people on these teams get a really good feel for like how does this good feeling movement, like when you're really remaking all this stuff, you probably see the guts and can analyze it from all these years later and go, oh, that's why this is so good. We should do that.
You're right. You have to perfect a feel, and you really can't fuck that up. There's almost more pressure to make sure that something transcends. It's the same game, same experience. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Rather than when you create from the ground up, there's no expectation, so you can make whatever you want to make.
Right.
So they've done, the last one was Shadow of the Colossus. They did Gravity Rush, which was a Vita PS game.
It's supposed to be very good.
Yeah, I've always heard about that franchise. It's really good, but yeah, I never played them. Uncharted, they did the Nathan Drake collection. They did the 360 version of Titanfall. They did the PlayStation 4 version of Flower, God of War collection, Metal Gear Solid HD collection.
That's a lot.
Yeah, primarily PlayStation properties, but yeah. So they just said that they're doing another remake, but they haven't shown. But that was part of that interview. Yeah, so also they
had to be a remake.
Yeah, I wonder if that's kind of their specialty and they have no interest in doing their own property, but we'll see what happens with that. Now, Thrush was enthusiastic about the speeder loading that comes with an SSD, noting that there'd be less reason to slow players down in hallways and doorways to mask the loading of new levels.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be the next kind of advancement, is now all these consoles are going to come standard with an SSD, right? Now, does that, with a lot of these, the way they not trick the player, but the way developers will have these levels load is that they'll kind of funnel you through something to give time for the next part of the level to come out. So now does that change how they build the levels to begin with? Because now they don't have to funnel you in? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
In a huge way. Now, it's still a challenge. You have to design it, and you still have to deal with LOD, which is level of detail for stuff in the distance. So it's still always a challenge not funneling you into a hallway, but it makes it way, way easier. Gotcha. Now, what this does make is harder for you to have a game, running... doing all this crazy stuff on, you can do it easily on both the new Xbox and the new PlayStation, but you want to do that on PC, or you want to do that on Switch, everything's not going to be compatible.
Gotcha.
That's way harder on those, because you definitely can't assume with PC that people have their game installed on a solid state drive. I certainly can't do that at all. My OS is taking up, I think, 70% of my solid state boot drive.
Gotcha.
Which I don't even really know if I need, but...
Do you think this is just a tangent, but could we see a future where the next iteration of the Switch has an SSD standard?
Yes.
Could it?
Absolutely.
The fact that they use already cartridges anyways, there's no need for moving parts. I feel like that should be the lane that they go through.
I mean, that's been Nintendo since practically the beginning.
Yeah.
But
like the thing holding it back is an actual... No, they don't actually have a hard drive. Yeah, they have just the little SD cards. Yeah. Yes, I don't know what I'm thinking. I just wanted to bring back the actual...
That's why it's almost more impressive when you watch a speed run of Breath of the Wild when it lags it, because it does need the load. It's like, well, also you were moving 1,000 miles per hour.
Gotcha. That's really it for the PS5 news. They just announced, hey, the controller's going to be doped out. We got the it's going to be called PS5 Holiday 2020. But now with do you think they'll ship with? And I imagine this is the same for Xbox. Will they ship only with an SSD, or they have to have a regular hard drive?
You have to.
Gotcha.
Like, if you want to make this push, that's the only option.
To have both.
Yeah, and because otherwise that puts all your developers on an uneven playing field. They have to develop for both, and that just kills them. That makes it... Even the developers of the Spider-Man game are talking about, like, there are all these hard drives you can have. That made it so much harder. This is how you say, no, we're dead stupid simple. This is standard.
Gotcha.
So, and then Xbox has to step up to that.
Right.
And they say, okay, yeah, this is standard. And then they're like, well, crossplay standard. And they're like, okay. And then we're just having all fun all the time, and it doesn't matter which system you have.
And that's the future I want to live in, Kevin.
Yeah.
They also confirmed that through that interview, if you remember this leaked potential, that was the dev kit. Of course, that's not how it's going to, like the actual PS5
and that
release.
thing could be huge. Like, we look at that and think of a standard console side. This is a dev kit. It doesn't matter how big it is. That thing could be huge.
Yeah. Because, I mean, often they would just send them full-blown, like, PCs with the actual hardware in them, right? Yeah.
I think one thing that we've never seen before, two consoles releasing at essentially the same time. It's always been...
That's true. They always have, like, the leeway on the other one.
Yeah, normally it's a year. So this is the first time I think, in history with these big consoles where they're going directly head to head holiday season. Who gets mom and dad's money?
Yeah. Are they getting their V-Bucks? Are they getting their
Yeah, are they getting their V-Bucks? Like, who knows when Fortnite's coming back? Like, that's... Did you hear the Ninja tweeted out a hint?
I saw that, yeah. He was like, retweet this. If it gets 150 whatever thousand, I'll tweet an image or what I know.
I'll free Fortnite.
But it was a black screen is what he actually showed.
Well, he tweeted taco.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
So everyone's like, it's coming out Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
then
I have seen stuff tied to Tuesday. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
some people were kind of going, I mean, it'd be crazy for them to keep it locked up longer than this. This is the game they're using to pay for all those games on the Epic Store. Like,
yeah.
That's...
Now, let's get into that Fortnite news, Gavin. So we had...
that was just the article right below that. That was a good time.
It was, yeah. So Fortnite announces the end as final Season 10 event powers down, leaving millions with black holes on screen. Yes, there's no other way to interpret that. Gavin, did you watch this live event? I was actually home when it happened.
I wasn't there, but I did. I kept popping around to different streamers.
Yeah.
I think it was last night. And I was like, why the fuck is everyone taking so long to load?
Yeah.
Like that was...
But you're just seeing that image or...
Yeah. And I was also very confused because one guy, he had a different load screen than everyone else did. And I realized later that someone had made art with stars swirling around as well. And it made it look so much cooler. But I'm like, why? Oh.
Gotcha.
Eventually I figured it out. But whoever did that did a phenomenal job. I think it was some guy, like big popular streamer like Tfue or something like that.
Okay.
He looks kind of like a knockoff of, was it not Ryan Paul, but
Logan Paul?
Yeah, he looks like a knockoff of Logan Paul.
Gotcha. Well, I think they all look like the same knockoff of somebody.
I'm sure he's heard 1,000 times before. So
now this is from Business Insider. They break down the nitty gritty. Kat Tenbarg writes, the final Fortnite Season 10 event ended suddenly, with every player's screen going black and showing a black hole graphic instead. As millions of gamers tuned in to streams and their own games, they suddenly lost the ability to log in. The only action on the display is an exit button, and the official Fortnite Twitter account tweeted, "This is the end." If the tweet wasn't enough confirmation, the end was definitely a planned sequence by Fortnite creator Epic Games, as the lobby of the game showed a special galaxy collapse animation for those who were in at the time of the server power down. So it was for sure planned, but it's kind of a ballsy thing because this is the biggest game basically in the world, and now they've shut it off for X amount of time.
This is unprecedented.
Yeah, no, who does that?
No one's
on
done
purpose. Because like we had just Destiny released a DLC recently. I think it was Shadowkeep. And they had, complaints because they were fumbling with the servers and they couldn't get it online in time. So that happens, but it's never like a planned thing, I guess.
I think the only time I've ever seen it, if I remember correctly, I think that happened for like a long swath of time at the beginning of Grand Theft Auto 4's multiplayer.
Oh, you're right. I remember I was
because it was bad though.
Yeah,
they were just like, I'm sorry, this shit's busted. Take it back down.
Yeah.
We'll come back later. But this is you have arguably the most successful or one of the most successful games in the world.
Yeah.
And you just stop making money off of it for a few days. That's
how did they swing that by their investors and stuff? Like, hey, we got this idea.
They have one guy that owns 60% of the company. So you got to convince that one guy who's a huge fucking nerd.
Gotcha.
They're just like, hey, boss. What if we took it down for a couple of days? And Ive's just like, let's fucking go. Not like that. He's like, have you seen this guy?
No.
He is the epitome. I remember seeing him in like E3 presentations because he do a ton of them. And I'm like, you were like what people picture when they picture a nerd. Like, especially in the 90s. I'm like, you were just like the nerdiest person in any room you walk into. John Carmack sees you and goes, not cool enough to sit at my table.
I was thinking he's the epitome of a nerd gamer to me too, John Carmack.
Oh, absolutely. And he's a mega nerd. But this guy is tremendously smart, and I think he's got that kind of golden thing of he's very good as a programmer. He's very good at, I want to say, designing. I mean, he's been making these epic games forever. Tim Sweeney.
Gotcha. I've heard that name, so yeah.
And he's good at business. Like you can't.
100%.
Right. Well, it's worse when you hear him talk. But he's damn good at doing this.
Gotcha.
And the fact that he owns the big enough percent of this country, or not this country.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. When he runs for president and all these kids are now 18, he's gonna be the first person to.
My brain just imploded. You're right.
Like no one would stand a chance.
Yeah, we're gonna see the next president doing that like floss dance and just to get votes. It's gonna be tough out there.
But he took this, and again, like no one can count on the success of Fortnite. You can't, even when they were making it, I think they just wanted to make their own battle royale. They couldn't have accounted on it becoming what it is today.
Oh yeah.
But he's done good things with it, aside from the Epic Store, which is still a pile of trash.
I know you interact with it, and I know you tell me it's not. They need to work on that. So I'm just pulling up just kind of what users were seeing. So, and there's music and stuff going along with this. Like, it's pretty epic.
Could this have been like you're about to win?
No, so they used to do that where it was like actual live events, and if you die, you die. That's but great. Now they have a special that takes over every option, so you can only play this live event where you can't die and you can experience the actual thing in game. But for those who couldn't get in, the actual menu screen had a reaction too, where there was a black hole that enveloped everything. Now this is what this is setting up is season 2 where they revamp the actual map and do just like a change up of everything.
And you saw the screenshot of the map, or maybe it was like a freeze frame.
There's a leaked video which I have pulled up as well.
Oh, there's a video. I thought it was just a screenshot.
No, it's because I think you're right where it's premiering tomorrow.
I think that's a strong leaked on that one.
Gotcha. I see. Now the most likely tomorrow is the actual Tuesday is the day that this thing goes live. So there's this video that showcases the features. So this is an actual leaked.
That may actually be leaked.
Yeah. So this is an actual like HD version of it. So it's showing new ways to level up.
Does it look better? Or am I crazy?
They might revamp the textures, but I think it actually surprisingly looks pretty good.
You fishing?
Yeah, there's fishing. You can hide.
You can hide. What do you mean you can?
You can hide in garbage cans, and you can swim is another thing.
That was a huge dive. There's vehicles. There's more vehicles.
Yeah, so the boat, which can carry up to 4 or 5 people. So this is what they will imagine they'll launch when they actually open it up tomorrow. Yep. So some of the features are detailed here. Now, this is Jay Peters of The Verge. They have written, leaked Fortnite Chapter 2 trailer provides a first glimpse at the new island. Fortnite has been down since Sunday's season-ending event, which has left millions of players staring at a mysterious black hole while they wait for details. The trailer, which is leaked, looks to confirm rumors that the game will be getting an entirely new map next season. The video shows off a number of new locales, including a river, power plant, a beach, and a fishing pond. And yes, in the new season, it appears you'll actually be able to fish in that fishing pond, as well as drive a boat, swim, and hop around on a pogo stick. The trailer says that there will be new ways to level up and shows hints of how that might actually translate into the game. Players in the trailer get medals for a headshot, opening a treasure chest, and even chopping down a tree. And of course, the trailer shows off many new skins, including a large creature.
Participation medals.
Yeah, I think anytime they can get people just existing in that world, they just get everyone staying in these modes. So that was a leaked video showing off some of the features, and we're gonna get a new map. The resident expert in my life is my nephew who loves the game, and so he was.
It's funny that like. That's not even like, as far as a term, like calling like your little nephew the resident expert on like Fortnite. Like that's actually a legit source. Like kids today, like they know they're in with the lore.
Yep, and he ingests all the like what if or like fringe YouTube videos where they break stuff down when it comes to Fortnite or like conspiracy theories with Fortnite. So he's fully in depth in that, and so he knew about the the event that was going to happen this weekend. They had advertised it as well, but like he's been trying to dig apart because people were. Also trying to, when that black hole screen came on, there's various numbers that came on, and also you could play like a mini game within that. But there's like numbers that flash on screen, and people have Googled those numbers to try and figure out what does it mean. Is there like a countdown? They haven't figured anything out. But
that's impressive that the internet, considering like when what was it was that trailer with John Wick in it? Cyberpunk.
Or where they flashed
stuff? They flashed the code on screen, and people pulled out like 12 dozen codes for The Witcher off of that before the end of the trailer was even done. Like the fact that this isn't cracked, like that's impressive.
Yeah.
So if it's not cracked yet, that to me says not all the information is available.
Interesting. Well, I mean, the video itself leaked, and that's a pretty big one, but an actual date hasn't leaked yet. But I think we can imagine that they're not going to go for very long with it being turned off because this is the biggest game in the world. Also, there was a big scare with like apparently parents, bombarding the Twitter account for Fortnite, asking like, hey, what's the deal with our V-Bucks? Because my kid, I've spent $100 on my shitty kid.
Their V-Bucks are fine.
They are. So the PlayStation account, Ask PlayStation, tweeted, please be assured that your inventory items and V-Bucks are secure during the Fortnite blackout. For any other questions, they divert you to epicgames.com. But that was a worry that people had, but it's all...
I get that. If you don't know about games,
right.
You'd be worried.
You just think somebody plug it back in.
Someone threw out all my internet dollars?
Yeah. But it's
just a crazy thing about digital currency, like fake dollars. You could just do that.
You can.
You shouldn't, but you could.
These are with the the characters and stuff you buy through Fortnite. They're action figures that are digital, so they don't live anywhere. But we'll see. Apparently, all signs lead to tomorrow. They actually premiere season 2. It's just a pretty masterful way to draw up attention, because now you get people who played Fortnite and dropped off. And now this is just taking over the news completely as far as like video game news, where it's like, hey, they unplugged the game. Like no one does that. So now they will get the attention that will be on season 2 will be monumental. Like everyone will be paying attention to that.
I think one of the neat thing too is whoever convinced Tim Sweeney to let them do this, I'm sure was shitting their britches. Saying like, Tim, I know. We're making like $2 billion. We're making $1 billion every day.
Right.
Let's turn it off for 2 days. And then he was probably like, when he did it, he was probably like, this is going to be the worst decision I ever made. No one's ever going to come back. Then... Like there's that fear. And then he did it, and the internet's going nuts. And he's like, oh, okay. That was going to be my job right there. Just donezo if this didn't work. And it worked. And it's so good for them. Yeah. No one else can do this.
No, they kind of, they've broken the mold. You can't do that again.
They can do this again. If they do season 3, they can absolutely do this again. I think people are going to expect something maybe even bigger.
Yeah, that's true. Where they go to your house
for a year,
or they go to your house and just like throw your Xbox on the ground or something.
You got to buy the Fortnite console. Yeah.
They might be able to do it. I don't know. Gavin, so that's the weekly Fortnite news. Now we have. I wanted to pull up some John Wick Hex Metacritics, just because some games came out. And
I know Destructoid loved it.
Gotcha. It seemed like it was up and down as far as like the critical score from various outlets was higher than the user score. So the Metascore is 75. The user score is 3.4.
That's so strange.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's just people are.
It's like Joker all over again.
Yeah,
I think the user or the reviewer score was super high, and then
with the actual critical score. So you mentioned games. What was it? Destructoid. Gotcha. I'm not seeing it here, but
they ranked it super duper high.
I definitely want to jump in for longer before because I have no point of view at all. But I was definitely like understanding that it's going to be kind of a different game, so where you're going to have to build a knowledge of it. So maybe it's turning off a lot of people. I'm not sure. I
just don't like with these movie tie-ins. You want, if you're going to be playing the main character, it's that stupid thing that like when you're watching a Spider-Man review from IGN, and like how many times are they going to say make me feel like Spider-Man?
Right.
But if I'm playing John Wick, make me feel like John Wick.
Exactly.
Give me like that's why I still in my head like Hotline Miami is how you do that game. But because it was chaos, and sure maybe it took you 100 tries to beat that level, but that one run where you did it perfect, you were awesome.
That's how he would do it in real life in one run.
Right, exactly.
So what also actually releases tomorrow is The Witcher Wild Hunt on Switch.
Here, runs good.
Apparently. So it's 30 frames per second, has an 85 Metascore review, or score rather.
I saw apparently there's already mods for it, which in my head I'm like, are these running it on PC? And at that point, just buy the PC version.
Yeah, that's very strange. Now, Killer Queen Black, which you played, I wanted to pull up the Metacritic for that. So we have Killer Queen Black loading up. You know what we didn't cover last week is that they moved Doom Eternal to
that's right.
2020.
Oh, look at that score.
So 84 on Metacritic.
And I saw it looks like there's a way, like it has its own independent friends list. So despite the fact that if you played it, you probably play on Switch, which you could absolutely run this on your PC. Okay. But if you played it on your Switch, you could add me as a friend on PC and we'd be fine.
Oh, nice.
Which is super cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. I was very surprised by the community. Like they're talking. Yeah. Generally, people aren't very negative. I've only ever seen one time where somebody's just deep throating their mic, going like, "Open the gates." The gates are closed. We can't upgrade. Which, to be fair, when I play the Queen, that's my goal is to make sure the other team can't upgrade. And a lot of times it works.
Gotcha.
I'm just like, if you guys can't upgrade your shit, you can't kill me very well.
And so you're in a voice chat with everyone basically, then, or at least
just
your
on
team.
your team,
right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which is good, but I'm very surprised by how positive the community is, and it's voice chat with people on Switch, which I didn't know it even had.
Yeah, for a while it was like you have to have a phone app that lets you do the voice chat. Like I don't know if that still exists, but
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's cool. Also, what it does, and I think this is people playing on Switch, it did that way you could kind of do it back on the Xbox where, like, let's say you have 3 people playing on your PC, so it'd be like, Butt Chugger 1, and then be Butt Chugger 2 and Butt Chugger 3, and that's your 3 people playing on your console. And I'm like, that's sweet.
Oh, I see. Nice.
That's sweet. Gotcha. Although I imagine it's confusing for them because your characters all look alike.
Right.
So I have to find my name. So if you're like, was I 1? Was I 2? Shit.
Yeah, that's the dilemma. So we have Overwatch coming out as well this week. So I'm going through the weekly.
They're trying to get it on the Smash Bros.
Oh yeah, with Tracer.
Did we talk about that last week? I feel like we did.
We did. Yep. So with the actual creator or head person over at Overwatch saying like, hey, you can use any character. Most likely it'll be Tracer. But
it's just gonna be saying, please play our game.
Yeah. So Overwatch is coming out to Switch October 15th. That's tomorrow. So we got The Witcher Wild Hunt also on Switch tomorrow. I haven't seen this, but Zombieland has a tie-in game called Double Tap Road Trip. This is
now that's just got me thinking of Death Road to Canada.
I haven't seen that. What is that, a movie or a game?
It's a game. It's Oregon Trail, but with zombies. Which is not to be confused with Oregon Trail, which is literally the Oregon Trail with zombies.
Okay.
This looks like a phone game.
That's what it looks like as well. No, this is on PS4, Xbox, PC, and Switch. So it's like a touch.
And it looks like it.
Yeah, this is pretty bad.
That's Can we get it off the screen, please? This is upsetting to look at.
When I think of the movie, I think of this thing. So
that is oof. I know you do because you're wrong.
Gavin, do you remember the Travis games of the No More Heroes? So Travis Strikes Again is coming to PC, PS4. October 17th, which is this week. So have you heard anything about this game?
Is that now? I get it confused because I want to say there were 2. Is this a side scroller or is this like the true third game? This might be the side scroller.
Oh, I think it is. Was it first on Switch and now it's coming to?
Well, the original was on the Wii.
Gotcha.
And actually the sequel is on the Wii as well. Yeah, this is very. I mean, it's not necessarily different than the original. It's kind of just different perspective. I think this is more arcadey. The original games were just cool. I honestly, as good as the gameplay was, I didn't like the gameplay that much. I just wanted to keep the weird fucking story going.
I remember
it was
the story
so
being...
weird.
Yeah.
And you just wanted to see where it went from there.
Yeah, but well, that comes out on PS4 and PC as well.
Yeah. I hope it's good. I want to see more come out of. Is that Pseudo 51?
You know what? I just remember that name, but I'm not sure if they're the ones developing this. We will find out.
That's Pseudo 51.
It says Grasshopper Manufacturer.
Right.
Is that an offshoot, or are they involved with Pseudo or something?
I thought that he's the lead. I think that Pseudo 51's the lead designer. It says Gonchi Suda, which could be it. Because I think he gained his name from, like, I think Pseudo 51 is how it's
pronounced?
I forget the reasoning.
I see.
Maybe I'm wrong.
This shows a No More Heroes 3 for
Lollipop Chainsaw, Killer's Dead. Maybe not. Maybe not. See, 2000. Oh, scroll all the way to the beginning.
Yep. Now, No More Heroes originally, so this is Marvelous.
Killer 7. Yep, that's him.
Oh, gosh.
Shining Soul. Holy shit. Those are supposed to be really good, like, Diablo on the Game Boy Advance games.
Oh, really? Okay.
Basically, yeah. Like, totally did the graphics great, and they're just action-packed.
Yeah.
Dungeon crawlers.
Gotcha. Gavin, that's all I have for you this week. Man.
That's good.
Well, Gavin, we'll end it there. Where can they find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at DrunkDevs, where I post almost nothing.
Well, if you're hankering for some nothing on the internet. Also, a whole lot of nothing on Plastic Heart Pod on Twitter. You can find us there as well. Gavin, put your pants back on. Alrighty, we'll end it there. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.